When Marvel wrapped up Avengers Endgame, it faced a nearly impossible challenge. How do you follow up the biggest cinematic event in history? The answer was the Multiverse Saga, an ambitious, interconnected storyline that would stretch across films and Disney Plus shows, with Kang the Conqueror positioned as the next overarching villain to rival Thanos. At the center of it all was Jonathan Majors, an actor Marvel bet big on, casting him as not just one character, but as countless variants of Kang across multiple timelines and realities. But what began as Marvel's bold new chapter soon unraveled, the result of creative missteps, poor reception, and a real-world scandal that forced the studio to abruptly shift course. To find out how it all went wrong, let's take a look at how Jonathan Majors destroyed Marvel's multiverse plan. The first two Ant-Man films were released in the aftermath of major Avengers blockbusters, and were seen as light comedic palate cleansers. But for the third installment, director Peyton Reed had bigger ambitions. He didn't want to make another breather between epic stories. He wanted Ant-Man 3 to feel like an Avengers-level event, and to do that, he needed a villain worthy of the Avengers. However, what struck him as interesting was taking the tiniest Avenger, and in some people's minds the least powerful one, Ant-Man, and putting him up against the most powerful force in the multiverse, Kang. To bring that kind of character to life, they needed an actor with extraordinary range, someone capable of portraying wildly different versions of the same person, since Kang exists as countless variants across the multiverse. Jonathan Majors had been on Marvel's radar for some time, quietly impressing the studio with his work, particularly in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. When it came time to cast Kang, they realized they had already found their actor, and while Marvel saw no need for an audition, they still needed to get the approval of both Quantumania director Peyton Reed, as well as Loki writer Michael Waldron and director Kate Herron, since Majors was set to debut in Loki as the variant known as He Who Remains. Marvel originally had no concrete plan for the Multiverse Saga to center around Kang, but that changed during the development of Loki. Head writer Michael Waldron and his team wanted the series to end with a major impact on the larger MCU, and as they crafted the multiversal war mythology, Kang naturally emerged as the perfect figure behind it all. The character's time-traveling, reality-shifting nature made him an ideal choice for a saga that would span multiple timelines and dimensions. Once Marvel saw Jonathan Majors' performance as He Who Remains, along with early dailies for Quantumania, the decision was made. Kang wouldn't just be a one-off villain, he would become the central threat across phases 4, 5, and 6. Majors' debut as He Who Remains was designed to only scratch the surface of Kang's true menace. The version that appeared in Loki was intentionally restrained, more eccentric and enigmatic than outright evil, with the real danger lying in the promise of who else might come. It was a calculated move to hint at the terrifying potential of Kang without revealing too much too soon. The creative team knew they were placing enormous weight on the finale, but head writer Michael Waldron admitted he could breathe a sigh of relief knowing they had Majors, as they had hung a lot of their hopes on him. Despite only appearing in the final episode, Majors made an immediate and lasting impact. It was our final week of filming, literally, and he came in and blew us all away, said Tom Hiddleston. Co-star Sophia DiMartino echoed the sentiment. As soon as he was on set, he was phenomenal. Like, no one could take their eyes off of him. You knew something magical was happening. Majors would get to show his range in the post-credit scene of Quantumania, where he plays several members of the Council of Kangs, as they convene to discuss the apparent death of the exiled one. However, Quantumania made a critical misstep when it came to establishing Kang as a major threat. It showed him being defeated far too early. While it was left ambiguous whether this particular variant died or not, the impact is the same. Introducing a supposedly unstoppable villain, only to have him lose in his first major appearance, undercuts his menace, especially when he's beat by one of the weakest Avengers. It's a problem seen before, like in Iron Man 2, where in Whiplash's first appearance he's quickly defeated by Iron Man on the racetrack, instantly weakening his credibility as a villain. Or in Man of Steel, where General Zod, a fearsome military leader, is overpowered by derailed, scientist in the film's opening minutes. When the audience sees a villain lose right away, the sense of danger is diminished. The same applied to Kang, and for a character meant to surpass even Thanos in scale and threat, that early defeat may have done real damage to how seriously audiences took him, considering at the beginning of Infinity War, the filmmakers did the opposite, and had Thanos defeat Hulk. Originally, the Multiverse Saga was set to culminate in an ambitious showdown between the Avengers and multiple variants of Kang the Conqueror in a film titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Allegedly, the plan involved splitting the Avengers into separate teams to battle three distinct Kangs, Immortus, Centurion, and Rama-Tut, across different timelines. We also allegedly would have learned that the Kang variant speared Doom, and intentionally kept him out of the conflict, agreeing to sideline him to protect their own grip on power. Only after their eventual defeat would Doom be revealed as the looming danger they had all tried to suppress, setting the stage for the next saga. After Quantumania, Majors seemed poised to become one of Hollywood's next major major stars. He followed it up with Creed 3, starring alongside Michael B. Jordan, another Marvel alum who also portrayed one of the franchise's most iconic villains, Killmonger in Black Panther. The two spoke openly about their creative chemistry, and even floated the idea of becoming this generation's De Niro and Pacino, starring together in multiple films across genres. Their dynamic in Creed 3 was electric, and with the multiverse now a central part of Marvel's storytelling, allowing alternate versions of characters from other dimensions to appear, the possibility of their Marvel characters crossing paths became a real possibility. Even though Killmonger was killed in Black Panther, a variant could still appear, setting the stage for the two to potentially share the screen in a future Marvel film. However, 1 month after Quantumania hit theaters, Jonathan Majors was arrested on charges of assault, strangulation, and harassment following a domestic dispute with his former girlfriend. In the weeks that followed, he was dropped by both his management company, Entertainment 360, and his public relations firm, The Lead Company. After his eventual conviction, Marvel officially severed ties with Majors, removing him from all future roles as Kang. And while many thought that the role would be recast, Marvel was already second-guessing Kang as their new big bad. When Quantumania was released, it proved to be a critical and commercial disappointment. Allegedly, the underwhelming reception took Marvel by surprise, and was unsettling enough to spark internal doubts about whether Kang was the right villain to anchor the Multiverse Saga. Kevin Feige would later say, even before what had happened to Jonathan Majors, we had started to realize that Kang wasn't Thanos. We had started talking about Doctor Doom even before we officially pivoted from Kang. In fact, I had started talking with Robert Downey Jr. about this audacious idea before Ant-Man 3 ever came out. It's also worth noting that following the Infinity Saga, Marvel began to lose the near-flawless momentum it had built over the previous decade. While there were still major hits like Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the studio also faced a growing number of misfires, both critically and commercially, with projects like The Eternals, The Marvels, and several Disney Plus series like She-Hulk failing to capture the same level of excitement. Audiences began expressing fatigue over the sheer volume of content, and the once tightly connected universe started to feel bloated and directionless. Behind the scenes, concerns grew that Jonathan Majors, though undeniably talented, wasn't the biggest box office draw to carry the franchise into its next phase. In response, Marvel concocted a radical idea to bring back their most iconic star, Robert Downey Jr., and reintroduced him not as Iron Man, but in a shocking twist as Doctor Doom. As a result, Marvel decided to move up the Doom storyline and replace Kang, while changing the title of the next Avengers film from Kang Dynasty to Doomsday. The move generated massive buzz, but also its fair share of criticism. While there's no doubt that Doomsday will succeed at the box office thanks to the return of fan favorite Downey, the decision also feels cheap and creatively hollow. Rather than taking the time to develop compelling new villains or build fresh narrative momentum, Marvel is relying on nostalgia and star power to patch over deeper issues. It signals a lack of confidence in their newer characters, and a reluctance to move forward without leaning on past successes. In the long run, it risks turning the MCU into a carousel of recycled icons instead of a platform for bold, original storytelling. Despite the controversy surrounding Majors, Loki Season 2 was not rewritten to address or remove his presence. According to executive producer Kevin Wright, the story seen on screen is exactly what was originally planned, with no changes made in response to Majors' arrest, which occurred after filming had already wrapped. However, the way the season ends speaks volumes about Marvel shifting internal priorities. Rather than positioning Kang or any of his variants as the looming multiversal threat, the finale focuses entirely on Loki's transformation. After gaining new time-slipping abilities, Loki takes control of the multiverse itself, sitting at the end of time, on a throne, and holding the timelines together indefinitely. This creative choice provided Marvel with a clean narrative exit if they chose to move away from Kang altogether. Whether intentional or not, the finale gave Marvel a built-in off-ramp, a quiet but clear sign that they were already starting to distance themselves from the Kang-centered direction. In the end, Marvel's grand plan to build a multiverse saga around Jonathan Majors and Kang unraveled almost as quickly as it began. Despite the fallout, Majors later revealed he had written a letter to Kevin Feige, expressing both his disappointment and continued admiration for Marvel and the character of Kang. "I'm watching them," he said. "I'm pulling for them. If they need me, they know where I'm at." Whether Marvel ever takes him up on that offer remains unclear. But for now, with Loki holding the multiverse together and Doctor Doom poised to take center stage, Marvel has effectively pruned Kang and the actor once meant to define its future from its sacred timeline. Thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of Hollywood's untold stories and unmade movies.